words and then open the floor for discussion, questions, concerns, and anything that to enrich our Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Madam Pradati Swaha Parampuram Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pachate Vishacharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare I thank you all for coming. It's always the opportunity for satsanga Shivadir Nidam. King Nimi, he said to the Navayogendras that the association of Vaishnavas is the greatest treasure that we can have. Because by that association we can advance in our spiritual lives. So I want to thank everyone, not only for coming, but for maintaining our Krishna consciousness. What I've seen in Trinidad is that it's very easy to come to Krishna consciousness. But one thing Srila Prabhupada said about India, which is, since the majority of you are from Indian descent, he said the good thing about Indians is they take Krishna consciousness easily. The bad thing is that sometimes they think I already know. So we have to be careful of this tendency to think that, I have experience, I'm an older devotee, I know how to do everything. We can see Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, the pastimes of the Lord. Because we see in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya how to act as a devotee. Srimad Bhagavatam we see the glories of devotional service. And Bhagavad Gita we see the glories of Krishna and the process by which we can approach Krishna. But Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, but especially Chaitanya Charitamrita more than anything. Because sometimes the pastimes in Chaitanya Bhagavat, the Lord is in a very different mood. But the mood of Chaitanya Charitamrita is the topmost mood of pure devotion. So we see that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita especially the devotee is glorified. So much so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he returned from Gaya, he came back and he was in such a humble mood that he was washing the clothes of the devotee. You can imagine the Lord washing your clothes. Of course, some people would like the Lord to do many things. Sometimes if we're in the neophyte state, we want Krishna, yes, you should engage in my service. But in the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, we don't want to inconvenience Krishna in any way. Just like Govinda, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, he was coming to give Lord Chaitanya massage. And then he saw Lord Chaitanya was, of course this was the Lord's desire to show the nature of the devotee. He came and the Lord was lying right in front of the door. So he thought for a minute, because he knows the injunction is you should never pass over the body of a Vaishnava or any living entity. What to speak of a Vaishnava? Not like the cowboys, they jump on a bull, But we don't do that. Only Lord Shiva can do that. And so he thought for a minute, and then he passed over the body of the Lord and began to give him his massage. And then, after some time, Lord Chaitanya woke up, and it was actually quite a while, and passed. The massage was just before, just after the Lord had taken lunch. And of course, the servant never takes prasadam before the master. This is never done in Vedic or Vaishnava etiquette. And so, as Srila Prabhupada says in his commentaries in Bhagavad Gita, that if the spiritual master forgets to call the disciple for prasadam, he fasts. This is the standard Vaishnava etiquette. So the Lord had already taken prasadam. Govinda came in, gave him his massage. He stayed there for a while, and then the Lord woke up and he said, "So Govinda, have you taken your well, why are you here still? Have you taken your prasadam?" I said, "No, my Lord." He said, "Why?" "Well, because you're lying in the doorway, I couldn't get out." So Lord Chaitanya said, "How did you get in?" He said, "Well, I walked over you." He said, "Why didn't you go out?" He said, "Because to do service, I can take any risk, even if I go to hell. But for my own benefit, I would never risk to take make any offense or in any way cause you any disturbance." So these are examples of how deep the Vaishnava etiquette is. How deeply, just like I always tell the devotees, that you should never leave your shoes in front of the door. Because if other devotees come in, then you're telling them that I'm more important. My shoes are right here in front. Everybody else can go somewhere else. So these are little details. They seem to be little details, but they all reveal our consciousness. Our consciousness should be fully fixed on serving the Vaishnavas at any cost. Just like Sri Sanatana Goswami, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his body broke out in sores. They were oozing all kinds of unsavory liquids, and big sores all over his body. And Lord Chaitanya came up to him. When he saw Sanatana Goswami, he embraced him. And when he separated himself from the embrace, all that oozing liquid was all over the body of Lord Chaitanya. So Sanatana Goswami, he thought, "Now I have committed the greatest offense. No, I have, contaminated the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, when Rath Yatra comes, I will simply throw myself under the wheel of the chariot and get rid of this useless body," which is not only useless because it's infirm, but it is just creating offenses against the Lord. So, after a little while, Lord Chaitanya came up and told Sanatana Goswami, "You should understand that body that you have, it belongs to me. You have no right over it. I am going to use that body for my service. I will be performing so many activities through that body. Therefore, do not think it is yours." And immediately Sanatana Goswami understood the Lord is omnipotent, and he could understand that and omniscient. He could understand the Lord can see everything. And so Sanatana Goswami, he offered obeisances, and when he got up, all the sores were gone. So the point is that we have to be so careful when we serve the Vaishnavas, when we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that our only desire is to please Krishna, and our only desire is to please the devotee. This is something that we have to be very careful of. So the first devotee we try to please is the spiritual master. And the way we please the spiritual master is by following the instructions. Srila Prabhupada said, this is the highest service. You can offer so many services, and that may be very wonderful, but if you can follow the instructions very carefully, this is the most important. Prabhupada said, service anyone can do. bringing some water, cooking something, anyone can do. Actually, Prabhupada said about cooking, he said, any fool can cook. He said, only a great fool cannot cook. Prabhupada said, it's all a question, you see what you put in and you cook. Anyway, I won't tell that story. It won't be a little bit embarrassing for some. But, this is what I try to emphasize. Because if we have this consciousness, then our devotional service will turn out very nicely. There's so many nice devotees here who love to come and chant. They love to come and take prasadam. But sometimes we're a little reluctant to do more service. Because we're thinking, the more I do, the more I have to commit myself. That, as I mentioned this morning, if I get too involved in devotional service, then I may have to surrender more. So, better I just, keep my distance. Because we're afraid. In the material world, the consciousness is that I'm always lacking. This is the consciousness. In the material world, we're always lacking. I lack money. I lack happiness. I lack this. We're always, in any condition, in any moment, we're always feeling a lack of something. Always something we need. I need. So therefore, even when it comes to devotional service, we think, I don't want to let devotional service interfere with my plans. No. Devotional service is very nice if I can fit it in. I'll fit it in between my, I have to work, I have family obligations, I have to rest. Even in the Bible it said the Lord rested on Sunday, so if He can do it, I can also do it. All these things. And then, wherever I can fit in devotional service, I'll be more than happy to. Whenever there's some spare time. But this is like giving Krishna our remnants. Otherwise, I have this, and when I have some remnants for Krishna, I have some time left over, I can do something for Krishna. But actually, spiritual consciousness means just the opposite. My reality is devotional service. What I have to do is serve Krishna. And then, between all these opportunities to serve Krishna that I should be taking at every moment, I can fit in my material activities. And even those material activities may take up 70, 80 hours or more, 90 hours a week. Still, and even if I only have enough free time, because honestly speaking, my work takes up 8 hours, my resting takes up 7 hours, that's 15. My eating takes up 2 hours, that's 17. My minimum recreation, exercise and everything, another hour and a half, 2 hours, that's 19. So I have 6 hours. So those 6 hours I should dedicate to Krishna. And that is my reality. That is my reality. And among those 6 hours, the most sacred time is chanting the holy name. Every day, chanting my japa. This is the most, because chanting japa is our opportunity to be alone with Krishna. Every devotee, they aspire. It's like if we meet some important person, some important dignitary, we feel very honored if we can be alone with them. But, if you're in a big crowd, some famous person, and there's 100 people, well, you feel, I'm happy to be here, hear or see this person perform. But if you're alone with that person, that's very special. So we go to the temple, we see the deity, or we go to our home, we see the deity on the altar. We should feel very special. But if I have that opportunity to enter into the altar and be alone with Krishna, but if I have the opportunity to, that's a little formal. The altar is a little formal. There's rules and regulations. But Tatrapita niyamita smarane na kalaha. But with the holy name, there are no rules and regulations. The only real rule and regulation is to not commit offenses and to concentrate on the holy name. So if I can do that, then I can be alone with Krishna in His most intimate form, His most casual, His most lenient, His most accessible form. So this is a very, very special thing. And if we can meditate like this. But sometimes our mind is so busy with so many other things that chanting the holy name becomes, like something I have to do. Of course, we should think I have to do it. But more than I have to do it, I want to do it. And more than I want to do it, this is my opportunity to be with Krishna. And if we spend that time with Krishna, and we do it to his satisfaction, just offering every name to Krishna with great care, and just like if you're on the altar, you don't like all of a sudden, start, put in your iPod or iPad, whatever you have, and just start listening to something and then sit down. Oh, it's really nice, Or you don't start talking to somebody, and the deity's there half dressed, and you're just talking to somebody. No, I think I need to take a little rest, and lay down there on the altar, take some rest. No, we're fully focused on the Lord. So what to speak of chanting the holy name, where the Lord is making himself accessible. He's extending himself. The Lord, in the form of the deity, is also extending himself. But he extends himself to the greatest degree in the form of the holy name, and especially in the chanting of japa. It's like some young devotees, they were telling me some time back, we were talking, it was a few years back, we were the bus tour, this youth bus tour comes to Mexico every December, so I travel with them. And so we were on a beach in Mexico, we were just having some conversation. I was asking them how was their chanting, and they were saying that sometimes it's difficult to chant japa because we love kirtan. And I said, if you really love kirtan, then you will love japa. If you're really doing kirtan properly, which means you are offering it as service, it's not entertainment, it's not to make me happy, no, but it is an offering to Krishna. If you're doing kirtan like that, then you will love japa. But if you're doing kirtan because it's fun, because I like to do it, then the first consideration there is me. And then everything, it's all for Krishna. But we're thinking about my happiness. And when I chant japa because it requires a little more concentration, then I'm not so happy doing japa. So this is contradictory. And therefore I told the devotees that if you chant good japa, it means you can do kirtan. And if you don't chant good japa, you can't do good kirtan. You can sing nicely, you can sing very beautifully, you can play. I see some devotees here, they're really, all kinds of little movements. And I've seen some devotees that they chant like, you can't even see how fast their hands are going on the mridanga. But when you see Srila Prabhupada, how he played mridanga, very simple, but full feeling, the full offering to Krishna is there. And of course Srila Prabhupada said many times, just like I know Gunagrahi Maharaj, whenever he sees someone playing the mridanga and not chanting, he takes the mridanga away. Prabhupada said in one conversation about chanting, he said that the instruments are not very important. And Prabhupada was encouraging the devotees. He said, you play with the instruments, but when devotees are alone, you can just apply and just chant. Just keep the rhythm. The instruments are secondary. The real thing is the chanting. So this is what we have to learn. This is how we can gauge. We can gauge our advancement in Krishna consciousness by how attracted I am to the holy name. Because that is the process. And also, we can understand how attracted I am to the holy name, or how well I'm chanting the holy name, by how anxious I am to do service. If I'm chanting nicely, properly, then I will be so anxious to do service. I will think, now I have to go to work, now I have to do this, now I have to take my children out to the park because they want to play. But what I really want to do is chant. What I really want to do is serve the deity. What I really want to do is performed Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution. This is what Srila Prabhupada emphasized. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said we have three activities. Distribute the holy name, distribute Krishna consciousness, Krishna Katha, and in the form, we do that in the form of books and also in speaking to people, and distribute prasad. These are our three activities. When Srila Prabhupada was present on the planet, the devotees, they started a program called the Hare Krishna Roadshow, where they had like modern instruments, guitars and drums, and they would go to different events. But then some of the devotees told Prabhupada it seemed like they were getting more involved in playing the instruments than singing the Mahamantra. So Prabhupada said, now we will stop this roadshow program. He said, simply chant the holy name and distribute prasadam and distribute my books. He said, these are our activities. This is what we want to do. So Srila Prabhupada made it very simple. We should analyze that Krishna, because Krishna wants us to come to Him, then He's making it very easy for us. He's making it very easy. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, right after when the Yogendras began to glorify, I can't remember, I think it's Chamasha Muni, or Chamasha Yogendra. He is describing the famous verse which I spoke a little bit about today, Krishna Varna Tusha Krishnam. Then afterwards, he speaks another verse. Can't remember it right now. Yatra Sankirtane Naiva. Can't remember the beginning. But the verse basically says, remember the second line, that Gunaga Sarabhagina Jatra Sankirtane Naiva Sarvasvato Balivyate. I can't remember the first line. So, but anyway, the verse says, basically says, paraphrasing the verse, that even the demigods and great personalities in the age, they want to come in the age of Kali. They think that the age of Kali is the most auspicious age. Because in this age, you can achieve perfection and pure Krishna consciousness just by chanting the holy name. Therefore, they're lining up, they want to come in Kali Yuga. They're thinking this is very nice. And therefore, we chant, Aruti Korena Brahma Adi Deva Gane. Then Lord Brahma, when Lord Chaitanya comes, Lord Brahma comes to do the arti. And all the demigods are there to assist him. So that's how important this Sankirtan movement is. That the whole host of demigods are lining up to serve Lord Chaitanya in the chanting of the holy name and do his arti. Because when you do arti to Lord Chaitanya, then you get so much mercy. Because just as in the chanting of the holy name in his arti, the important thing is just to worship him. Just like Lord Nityananda. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu came together in the house of Nandanacharya, after they embraced, they saw each other, they were stunned. And Lord Nityananda, he froze. And he just looked at Lord Chaitanya and then he fell down unconscious. And Lord Chaitanya picked him up and then he felt transcendental bliss and they embraced each other. And they were bathing each other in tears and then they fell on the ground. They were rolling on the ground together in transcendental bliss. The devotees were completely astonished. How wonderful is this? Who is this personality? This is Nityananda. This must be Balaram. They couldn't understand what was going on. Because Lord Chaitanya hadn't really revealed himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, afterwards, then, Lord Chaitanya said to all the devotees, tomorrow we will celebrate the Guru Purnima. And we will worship Nityananda. He is the Guru. And so, Nityananda. They came back the next day in the house of Shivas. Shivas prepared all the paraphernalia. And then Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda, now you can put the garland on Vyasadeva, because he is the Lord and he is the Adi Guru. So Lord Nityananda took the garland and he walked toward the whatever representation of Vyasadeva they had, that was not mentioned. And then he just started going around in circles. And Srivas said, what is he doing? Does he want some more paraphernalia? Srivas didn't know what to do. And he turned around and then he walked over to Lord Chaitanya and he put the garland on Lord Chaitanya. And he said, this is the real purpose. And he showed that even though he was the one that was supposed to be worshipped, and they did worship him afterwards. They worshipped Lord Chaitanya, and then they worshipped Lord Nityananda. But he was showing that even though one may receive some honor or some recognition, everything goes to the Supreme Lord. We must be transparent via media. And at every point. Therefore, whatever responsibility we have in Krishna consciousness, and we should try to take responsibility. Srila Prabhupada was very desirous that every devotee would become more and more responsible and devotional. So Srila Prabhupada showed us that example. He sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement, even his own translations, even his own bhajan. When Srila Prabhupada was in New York, 1976, he came down from his room and he came down the elevator, and the devotees were noticing he looked a little weak. And so one devotee said to him, Srila Prabhupada, you should rest. Maybe you should take some time and just rest. And Prabhupada said, he said that I want to die on the battlefield. That is my desire. He said, just like Arjuna, ready to die on the battlefield. And then he walked out of the elevator. And he stopped, and he turned around, and he looked at everyone, and he said, and you should also want the same. Otherwise, we should go up to the very end and accept more and more responsibility for Krishna. Just like one devotee, he was going to the one Middle East country. I think it was Pakistan. We were going to Pakistan or Afghanistan. And then Srila Prabhupada got, I think it was Brahmananda, and he was in Pakistan. And then there was some news of there was some upheaval and very dangerous condition in the country. And Srila Prabhupada said that anyone who goes to these countries to preach, anyone who takes a risk for Krishna, I put the dust of their lotus feet on my head, birth after birth. So this is how dear to Srila Prabhupada it was that we take some risk, that we take some inconvenience for. This is the opportunity to advance. When everything is going very nice and I have plenty of money and good health and I do some service, well, that's very nice. It's a very nice thing. But when we accept some sacrifice, some inconvenience for pleasing Lord Chaitanya, for pleasing Srila Prabhupada, pleasing the Parampara, then that is when we make real advancement. If everything's very nice and everything's, and you just comfortably perform devotional service, then there'll be some advancement. But if we take some risk and we really sacrifice beyond our comfort zone, the real advancement begins when we go beyond the comfort zone. That's the point. As long as we remain within the comfort zone, then, yes, Krishna appreciates whatever we're doing for him. But when we can go beyond the comfort zone, this was very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. Just like when Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj came to India, he was preaching at that time the Eastern European communist country. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Actually, how he even got in is because he had an American passport. Americans weren't so welcome at that time. And so he came in, And they said, why are you coming here? And he said, can't you see? He said, I have a black body. In America, they treat us very bad. You know? I want to come here where everyone is equal. You know? So, oh, okay. Very expert. He said, and then he just went in and they said, what are these books? He said, yes, these books are about how we can all be equal. We can be good communists. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Very expert. And so he took so many risks, and he was such sacrifice. If you ever did serve, you could never keep up with it. It was always like he would sleep like 3-4 hours a day. He would get up, just sit in one place, chant all his round. He would like eat like a little bit of soup or a little dal, and then he'd go out all day long distributing sets of books to the libraries and different institutes and everything. Come back late at night, take a little something prasad, chant some more around, read something. He would get up before anybody else, and he would take rest after everybody else. He was so tired that he would when he was driving or something, even when he was driving the car, it's a little dangerous, he was like falling asleep. Actually, he had an accident one time. And so when he came, and Prabhupada heard of all his preaching, Prabhupada embraced him like this on his lap and rubbed his head. And he said, for anyone that takes so much sacrifice for me, I will give their life. I will give my life. And of course, another time, Srila Prabhupada appreciated the sacrifice. Mother Malati, when Prabhupada was first in Mayapur, he was staying in that little hut, which now they have it's like a little samadhi for Srila Prabhupada. In front of the samadhi, that little hut. So that's where he was staying. And they were just starting to build starting to put the foundation of the big temple. Not the big temple, but the temple we have now, Lotus building. And so she was cooking for Prabhupada. She was a new devotee and she cooked very nicely, but Prabhupada would always say, there's not enough salt, too much salt, not enough turmeric, not enough this, too much this, every day. So she went to Shyamasundar, who was her husband at that time, and said, I think I'm going to ask Srila Prabhupada for another service. I can't please him. No. I'm so inexpert, so neophyte, I can't please him. Every day, he's never satisfied me. I'm just committing offenses. And she was thinking, I'm going to go in to speak to Srila Prabhupada. So she came in, offered her obeisances, and she started to say, I'm going to give up my service. Prabhupada said, so tomorrow, my godbrothers are coming, and I want you to cook. I can't even please Prabhupada. Now his godbrothers, they had this image, Prabhupada's godbrothers. Prabhupada's smiling and laughing, very friendly with the devotees. Godbrothers all like their daughters. Serious, Paka sannyasis. And so she was going, what am I going to do? So the next day, they came, 2 or 3 godbrothers of Srila Prabhupada, and she cooked. And she came in and she saw their all imposing, forms. And then they saw this Western woman has cooked. And so she just came in on her hands and knees, like slid the plates in, each one of them. And they were looking at one another, and Prabhupada could see what they were thinking. How can we eat this cooked by some, mlecha woman? Who knows what her background is? They were thinking like that. Prabhupada could see it. So Prabhupada said, she would give her life for me. And then Prabhupada said, I would give my life for her. So they looked at each other. And then they said, oh, very nice. She's become very expert, right? She was so happy. Prabhupada. So, this is what Srila Prabhupada would sometimes put the devotees in very difficult situations. And when devotees would voluntarily, just like in the 9th canto, described in the pastimes of Yayati Maharaj, where Puru takes the curse of Yayati, of becoming an old man. Everybody else, all his other sons, refused, and the best of them was Yadu, He said, I would do it, but I have to become a grihastha and have children, because in the future Krishna will appear in my dynasty. So I can't be an old man, and no children. So Puru, he said, no, I'll take it. So Srila Prabhupada describes there that a second class servant, first class servant knows what the spiritual master or the devotee wants. Second class servant, he asks what he wants and he does it without any hesitation. Third class, he does it, but he's not so enthusiastic. Fourth class does it reluctantly, and fifth class doesn't do it. No. So first, this was first class. Srila Prabhupada was showing how these devotees, by his own pastimes, these devotees would be first class, even though they were very neophyte by external calculation. But Srila Prabhupada was so loving, so merciful, that they were willing to sacrifice anything. Just like Shama Sundar Prabhu, he said that one day when they were in San Francisco, they had this light bill, water bill for the temple. They didn't know how they were going to pay it. A water bill, light bill, they had no money. And they were just going out on Harinam. Maybe they would make like, $3 or $4, in the whole day, $5. Even when Srila Prabhupada began the Sankirtan movement, began to distribute books and magazines, before they actually had a lot of big books and devotees were expert, the big collection was $30 or $40. That was like a big collection. And so they didn't have enough, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And he was walking down the street thinking, today they're going to cut off the lights, they're going to cut off the water. Krishna, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden he looked down and he saw these $100 bills blowing in the wind on the streets. He gathered them all up and went and paid the bill. So and he said, this was Prabhupada's potency. He taught us just how to depend on Krishna. We had no idea how to do anything, how to perform devotional service, but they took the risk. We'll do this and Krishna will provide. So this is the topmost attitude in devotional service. Devotional service is mostly about our attitude. It's not so much about being expert, but we should be expert. But even more important than being expert is having the attitude of enthusiastic service. Srila Prabhupada said, the most important thing in service is that it be enthusiastic, voluntary, and spontaneous. These three things. That we want to do it, we naturally want, if we can come to that platform of spontaneously wanting to serve Krishna, not necessarily that we're situated in Raganuga Bhakti, but there's a spontaneous feeling in my heart that I just want to serve Krishna. And I do it voluntarily. No. Of course, voluntarily doesn't mean that we don't accept any instructions or indication. But it means that I want to do it. No. That's what it means by voluntarily. Not that, nobody can tell me what to do. Actually, devotee is very anxious that everyone tells me what to do. I want all the Vaishnavas to tell me what to do. And even Srila Prabhupada, one time he was in the airport, and I can't remember where it was. It was, used to be in the airport you could go right up to the gate. They would receive Srila Prabhupada when he came, and they would take him right to the gate where he would get on the airplane. And sometimes even, they would even run outside the gate up to the airplane, because in the old day they didn't have those jetways. They just they had a ladder. You would walk out like you do if you take Caribbean Airlines or Liat. You walk out and you go up the ladder. So they would sometimes even come out with a kirtan. The police would try to stop them, but they would just care. It's Prabhupada. So they were waiting for the plane. There was some delay. And so one devotee said, so all the devotees should sit down. And Prabhupada was the first one to sit down. He just thought, well, all the devotees should sit down? Okay. Prabhupada sat down. Just obeying the order of some neophyte disciple. But Prabhupada was showing us what it means to be a devotee. voluntary, enthusiastic, spontaneous servant, but still being ready to respond to any desire of any Vaishnava. And so this is what we should learn in our devotional. So this will make devotional service very easy, very happy, very wonderful, and very rewarding. Because if we're performing service to Krishna properly, then the result will be that we feel, we want to do more and more. And if we don't want to do more and more, this is the indication that we're not performing it in the proper mood. These are their indications that should be there, how we should perform devotional service. So I'm saying all of this so that we can be aware and be conscious of where I am, what is my platform of service, how is my devotional service. We can gauge it. We shouldn't gauge it by our own evaluation. Yeah, I think I'm doing pretty nicely. I'm probably, 80. I'm in the upper 80% echelon of devotees. I've been around for longer than most people, and therefore, they should be appreciating me, respecting me. No, we shouldn't be thinking like that. As we have Srila Prabhupada's example in the very beginning, he was serving every devotee. Every devotee he was serving, and happily. Happily. I know that when we have the opportunity just to serve without any, big responsibilities, it's so wonderful. If you can just do service, carefree, and it's such a wonderful feeling just to be able to serve. Because like sometimes I see devotees who don't really have any position, like in the temple or something, and I think how fortunate they are. They can just serve carefree. They can give themselves. There's not demand. There's no demand upon them. And this is gives us the opportunity to do something very wonderful for Krishna. So these are just some things I thought would be beneficial if we could hear them. The mood of devotional service is very important. Mood and motivation. What is my motivation? Is my motivation to please Krishna? Is my motivation that other people will recognize me? This is something that's very difficult. Humility means that I want no recognition. Humility can be exhibited when I don't want any recognition for my service, for my sacrifice. Just like Madhavendra Puri when he left Remuna after being blessed by Kirchor Gopinath. Then he left for quickly because he thought, people hear about this, they may try to glorify me. So he left. When he arrived in Jagannath Puri, there was a big reception. Jai, Madhavendra Puri, Jai. And he reluctantly, he had to accept it. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that the Vaishnava, the most difficult thing for the Vaishnava, and especially one who performs the service of Guru, is that he has to accept so much service from the Vaishnava. And also, he said this is the greatest austerity, to have to accept service. But the conciliation is that I offer it to Krishna. And he said the other great austerity is that I have to, even worse, that I have to chastise the Vaishnava. Even more great austerity. I have to tell them, you do this, you do that, you shouldn't do this. This is such a great austerity. Because the only desire in the heart of the Vaishnava is to serve. But they see this as my servant. It's like Srila Prabhupada said again and again, that my Guru Maharaj has engaged you in his service to help me. And Prabhupada was indicating, because I cannot do this. So therefore, my Guru Maharaj has selected you. He thought like that. No, he didn't just say that. He felt like that in his heart. That my Guru Maharaj has selected you to help. And therefore Srila Prabhupada wanted everybody to accept a big responsibility, because he saw all of his disciples as servants of his Guru Maharaj. He didn't see them as his disciples. Although he would say, my disciples, and felt these are my disciples. He knew that. But in his heart he felt these are the servants of my Guru Maharaj. And my service is to serve them. So sometimes I have to correct them, sometimes I have to chastise them, sometimes I reward them. So, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this is very difficult. Very difficult to accept service and even more difficult to chastise others. But we have to do that. Because when we serve in this world, we have to do many things that are not palatable. Because everything that is palatable to us in the conditioned state, generally speaking, is not, doesn't contribute to our spiritual advancement. Whatever is externally palatable. Of course, devotional service performed in the proper mood of devotion with the proper motivation to please Krishna is very palatable. But it's internally palatable. So much so that Srila Prabhupada showed that many times he felt discomfort. He felt discomfort, but he was very blissful because he was offering everything to Krishna. Externally, he may have felt so much difficulty. So we have another kirtan going on here. So anyway, these are just some things I wanted to say. Now I want to offer to you, maybe H.G Prabhu would like to say a few words, since he's here, and senior advanced devotee, totally dedicated to spreading the holy name and devotional service. So maybe he can say a few words, and then any of you have any questions, comments, concerns.
First of all, I'm very happy that you've come again. It's always a pleasure to have your company.
If you could come in front, Purusha, there's a small little box we have, not a big box. It has a lot of power.
Okay. Yes, so it's always a pleasure to have the company of Guru Prasad Maharaj. As he was saying, to take responsibility for the cause of Guru and Gauranga. This is the best way we can utilize our human life. Prabhupada was always asking that of his followers to sacrifice. But he was also sacrificing, so we felt this is natural. So Guru Prasad Maharaj is making a lot of sacrifice. It's not. I used to think when hearing of Srila Prabhupada's traveling, going around the world 11 times, I used to think that must be the most difficult thing, because whenever I travel, just one trip, one journey, and I'm wasted. And he was just going. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. It's not a luxury. It's not like he's a flower airplane. It's uncomfortable. But he was prepared to do it. Even in the last year, the last few months, he so much wanted to come out to enliven the devotees that with great difficulty he wanted to make one more trip. But he's got as far as London, and he had to turn and go back. So our founder Acharya he drew a line of service that if you feel any way that we are benefiting from his contribution, he must also make sacrifice. It's not, we shouldn't become, as you say, comfortable. When you go a little bit out of your comfort zone, that's when you start to. Because nothing goes unnoticed, Krishna. He sees everything. All the difficulties that we undergo for him, he's aware of it. And he will bless us with more Krishna consciousness. It's a competition between Krishna and the devotees. The devotees don't want anything from Krishna, they just want to serve him. And Krishna wants to serve the devotees. He wants to give to the devotees. But his pure devotees don't want anything. So then Krishna finds a way. The disciples of his devotees, then through them, Krishna gets to serve his devotees. So, these are the dealings of love. Thank you.
So any questions, any comments? Devotees, this is what this is all about. The whole process of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada says in the first canto that everyone is asking questions. The birds, the animals, where can I eat? What can I eat? Everyone's asking questions. But questions about Krishna are very glorious because they're beneficial for everyone. Yes.
I was thinking. I was thinking that when I first came into the movement in the Association of Devotees, one of the things that was almost every month we would have like invitation, we'll get invitation to go to like a devotee's house where we would have kirtan, prasad, and Bhagavad Gita reading or Bhagavatam. And it used to be so enlightening to go. And I found that recently, I mean the last couple of years, it's practically dead. It's very rare we would go at a devotee's home and have that sangha. And the only time we will have sangha really is on a Sunday program or if there's a festival. And for myself, I feel that when I think of joining the early days, which is not too early because I mean I've been around a little while, I've lost that enthusiasm. You know, like sometimes even when a devotee invites us to a program, we probably go in a little late because we'll time it for the prasad, we'll time it just to hear some kirtan, and the moment there's class, with pujalpa, and there's so many like negative things. All because for me personally, I found that I think I've lost the enthusiasm. I mean, look at this program today. We invited everyone, all the disciples, to come for 6 o'clock. And I had to call Gurudev and say, don't come yet because disciples are not here too. And so sometimes when you go to a program and you don't see devotees, you think, oh, what's going on? And so my question is, how can I get that enthusiasm again since association is like the key to growth in spiritual life, is it, or should we have that sangha, or like, you know, with devotees we can have like informal programs, go to devotees' homes? Is that something that should be encouraged?
Association should always be encouraged. Just like sometimes it's like a vicious cycle or a vicious circle that, as Rupa Goswami says, utsahanishtaya dayarya, that enthusiasm is the most first Prabhupada said, if you're enthusiastic, then everything else will follow. If you're enthusiastic to serve Krishna. So enthusiasm is in fact a factor, a very important factor in favorable devotional service. But where does the enthusiasm come from? Association of Vaishnava. When we see others who are enthusiastic to serve Krishna, then we become enthusiastic. When we see others that are surrendered, just like I may have mentioned it before, but one time we were in Calcutta and we were supposed to set up a program, some tents program for Srila Prabhupada. And it started raining like anything. So we were all sitting under the roof waiting for the rain. But in Calcutta, sometimes when it rains, it doesn't stop for a long time. And it was like only about 2 hours before the program. So Jayananda Prabhu came, and he just walked out in the rain, and he didn't say anything to everybody. Just walked out and grabbed a pole and started to put it up, pull the canvas up in the rain. Everybody goes. We all went in. When we saw his enthusiasm, we were immediately attracted. What are we doing? Sitting around thinking about our bodies. I don't want to get wet. I don't want to get that. So this is called the mental platform. So when we're on the mental platform, it's very difficult to be enthusiastic. We have to be on the spiritual platform. And that enthusiasm comes from association. So the two things are interdependent. You need enthusiasm to associate, and you need association to have enthusiasm. But ultimately, association, again and again, we see, Ramananda Roy said, association of devotees is one of the most important factors, is essential. And, we see again and again, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. All these declarations again and again of the importance of association, just like I said in the beginning, satsanga shevadir ninam, that the most greatest treasure is the association of the Vaishnava. So we should be enthusiastic to associate, and by that association we'll be enthusiastic to chant and hear and serve Krishna. Practically everything in devotional service is interdependent on some other factor. And even in life, it's just like a universal principle. Just like if I want to have money, then I have to work. So it's not that I really want to work, it's not that I'm enthusiastic to work. Because I want money, then I can become enthusiastic to work. So if I want Krishna, then I should be enthusiastic to associate and enthusiastic to serve. So if we don't have that enthusiasm, then we can apply the inverse logic that I must not be so desirous of surrendering to Krishna and pleasing Krishna. If I'm not enthusiastic to serve Him, then what does that mean? Of course, we can make all kinds of excuses. Well, I had to do this, I'm tired. We make all kinds of excuses. But if we really analyze our own spiritual life, we'll probably find that I'm not chanting properly, or maybe I'm not chanting sufficiently. I'm not, associating properly. I'm not even preparing prasadam in the right state of consciousness, and I'm not offering it properly. Maybe I'm just, do some quick offering for Krishna and get it over with, and get to the real thing, which is tasting. So, and we can just see, if I don't have that enthusiasm, that desire, and we just apply the reverse, then what am I doing wrong? Because it has to be there. Just like we see statements again and again by Srila Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam, everything, that if you do this, you will feel like this. But I don't feel like that. That means that I'm not doing it. It's not that, well, maybe the Bhagavatam's wrong, or, maybe Prabhupada really didn't, this is not applicable to Trinidad, only to Calcutta or Vrindavan. So we can try to rationalize like that. But the real thing is that if Prabhupada says it, it must be true. And therefore, the the inconsistency or the fault is not in the source, the fault is in my heart, and I have to correct it. So, other question?
They've been conditioned souls, and also hearing again and again that we are always in Maya. How can us, a disciple, one of us, or me, being slammed by the modes of material nature from time to time, either through members at work, or maybe your own family members, or maybe the devotees, how can we remain steady or increase, to have that desire to increase our service?
Did everyone hear the question? Probably not. So the question is that, generally speaking, most of us are in conditioned life, and we always hear that in conditioned life that we're in Maya most of the time. So how can we, increase our service and go beyond that conditioning of, having so much pressure and work, and people are, telling me things, and so many, invitations of Maya. How can I really have the determination and the enthusiasm to go beyond that? First of all, we have to understand that Bhagavad Gita is made for the conditioned soul. It's spoken for the conditioned state of consciousness. So if we're not hearing Bhagavad Gita regularly, just like every time I hear Bhagavad Gita or read some verse or a few verses or a chapter, I see so many things that I never saw before. Like someone told me the other day, I read Bhagavad Gita twice. Thinking like, wow, big accomplishment. Which is very wonderful. It's very wonderful because some people haven't read it even once. But we should never think like that. Yeah, I completed my course. I took Bhakti Shastri. So I passed. Got an 85. So I'm a Bhakti Shastri now. No, every time you hear even one verse from Bhagavad Gita, even a few words, it always amazes me how much potency there is, even in the Gita, which is the most basic scripture we have. It's the most basic scripture. And it's so basic that Arjuna understood it in 45 minutes. And we can't understand it hardly in 45 lifetimes. So deep for this Kali Yuga, surrendering process. But every time you hear the Gita, if you're actually chanting and doing everything nicely, it's just so revealing, so refreshing. So the way we do it is by hearing. Even Krishna says again and again in the beginning of the 7th chapter, beginning of the 9th chapter, beginning of the 10th chapter, he says, just hear this. Just hear this message. You just hear this. Everything begins from there. But sometimes, like you say, we're too busy. Too busy with work, family, friendship. Friendship means Facebook. You extend your friendship out so far that you never finish. There's always somebody else coming. I've never done it myself, but I've seen people sitting there for hours. I wonder, what are they doing? Writing a book or what? And it's all on Facebook. Okay. I'm thinking, how can you stand it? Like I go online. I'm thinking, let me get out of this. See people just talking. Of course, sometimes you can use it constructively, preaching, and associating, talking about Krishna. But generally, I don't see that that's the mood, generally speaking. So, I would say hearing and chanting. We just have to force ourselves to hear and chant. Just like I just said, when you have a goal that is desirable, then you'll do anything to achieve it. People will do anything to achieve it. Just like the story of Bilba Mangal Thakur. When he was doing his bhajan. He was actually in Bhava Bhakti. He was doing his bhajan, but where he would be sitting in his ashram, he could see on the other side of the river this prostitute Chintamani, and she, he would be sitting there in his bhajan, but he would look and, his mind would think, oh, she's very beautiful. Meditating, and he would see again, oh, very nice. So gradually he developed this attachment. And then one day, he decided to go there, and that very same day, big storm came. But it didn't matter, he was so determined. I want to enjoy this lady. So he went, he crossed the river, the big rains were coming, currents were so strong, they practically swept him away. And then he had to go through the mud, this is like monsoon season in India. It's like even heavier than the rains here during the rainy season. I mean, it comes down so hard sometimes that the water, I've seen it get 1.5 feet, 2 feet, deep. Like in Vrindavan, in the monsoon, it gets like sometimes 2 feet deep on the streets. So much rain falls. It's like the clouds are just black, And he was like mud, covered with mud. And then he had to climb up these vines. And as he was climbing up, he grabbed onto one vine, but it was a black poisonous snake. But he saw the snake, he said, I don't care. He pulled on the snake. He got up there, practically exhausted. And then, when he climbed onto her balcony, and she saw him. And she said, oh, how I am cursed. I have this beautiful body, and it is disturbing so many people's minds. No, she was actually, even though she was a prostitute, she had some realization. And she said, just see, how this illusory energy which creates these beautiful bodies and beautiful objects in this world can bewilder the mind of someone who is fixed in self-realization. And then she said, if you had that same determination to serve Krishna as you have to come and enjoy with me, then I pray to Krishna that he gives you that determination. Then he offered his obeisances. He said, you are my Guru. You are my Guru. So much so that even in one of his writings, he said, I offer my obeisances to my Guru Somagiri and my Guru Chintamani, who was the prostitute. So the point is, he had so much determination. And when he converted that same determination into determination for Krishna, he became the topmost pure devotee. So if it just takes a little intelligence. I have so much determination to enjoy this or to do this, so let me turn that determination for Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita says, how do you do that? You take that object of your determination and you offer it to Krishna. That's the beginning. Whatever I'm determined to do, to enjoy, whatever, then I take that, the most lovable, enjoyable thing that I want the most, I take that and I offer it to Krishna. And then everything begins to change. As sometimes people ask me, especially new people, they say, I want to learn how to meditate. And I said, everyone knows how to meditate. A young man meditates on the young girl meditates on the young boy. This is the example by Rupa Goswami. Meditation, everybody, even the animals know how to meditate on food. You take a dog, you put some nice food there, he's meditating like anything. Saliva is coming out of his mouth. He's wagging his tail, he can't hold himself back. I said, but you have to learn not how to meditate, but what to meditate on. Everyone knows how to meditate. Everyone knows how to do everything, but they're just doing it in the wrong way. We all know, but this is Prabhupada's point again and again. We already know the process. We just are applying it wrongly. This process of serving Krishna is universal. Everyone has to serve, but we're just serving the wrong person in the wrong way. If we serve the right person in the right way, then it's the same thing. We already know how to do it. We just have to adjust our consciousness, adjust our focus. And that requires a little effort, a little intelligence, and some good association. That will give us the strength to change. And chanting very nicely. that gives us the strength to change. Any other question? Yes.
¿Cuál es la Vaishnava etiqueta que usted recomendaría? Porque es muy difícil para seguirlas todas, ¿no? Especialmente Trinidad, que uno no se da reverencias ni nada, sino que cuando uno ve un devoto solamente le dice hola, ¿cómo estás? Y listo, se perdió. ¿Cuál sería la que usted recomendaría, las más esenciales que uno pueda seguir de la Vaishnava etiqueta?
¿Para lograr qué?
No, para practicarla.
Para llevar a cabo. So the question is, what is the most essential thing of all the things that we could do to increase our devotional service? What is the most essential practice that we should do? He said, because especially he's seen here in Trinidad, like the devotees, generally speaking, they come together, they don't even offer obeisances. They just say, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? What's happening? Whapping. Say, they don't, not the proper Vaishnava etiquette. This is something I always emphasize just on the side before I answer the question. That in the beginning we offer obeisances to everyone. I remember it used to be that every time a devotee came into the temple room, all devotees would offer obeisances. Just, the first devotee would come in, he'd offer obeisances to Prabhupada, the deity, or the picture of Prabhupada. Of course, in that time, all it was always pictures. There weren't many deities. And then every devotee would come into the temple and everybody would offer obeisances. Every devotee that came in, every devotee would offer obeisances to every devotee as they came in. So it was like that. And in the beginning, so you would assume that as I become more advanced, I'll offer more obeisances. So what does that mean if I don't offer obeisances anymore? It means I'm not becoming more advanced. I'm thinking myself more advanced. But if I'm really more advanced, I will offer obeisances to every devotee, every living entity. Even if living entities, I may do it in the mind. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, every time a disciple would offer obeisances, he would say in his mind, Dasusmi, I am your servant. Well, he wouldn't do it physically, because the Shastra says that a sannyasi should not offer obeisances to others, but except for other sannyasis. That's the general injunction in the Shastra. Because his duty is to accept obeisances and offer them to Krishna. But in his mind, he should be offering obeisances to every living entity. So this is something very important. I encourage the devotees always to offer obeisances to one another. Not just like we got it over with this shotgun program, lunch in the morning, I got everybody. Shotgun. One time, get everybody. So this is not, we should be very anxious to offer obeisances to every Vaishnava every time we see them. Why not? Better to do it than not to do it. We should be very anxious to honor the Vaishnava. And so that's my answer. Start out by offering obeisances. Start out by see every devotee as a servant of Krishna. This is how we increase our devotional service. Because when we see everyone as a servant, then everything we do is a service. But if I see the deity as the object of my service, and so is the object of my criticism, I bow down to the deity and she did this and that, Maya, the fool, rascal. See, if we start seeing everyone like that, then it means we're not making any advance. We're becoming more neophyte. Not that we're making advance. Advancement doesn't mean that I know some verses or that I know some pastimes. That's very nice if you do. But if you don't apply it properly to your own consciousness in your own life, then it becomes an object of pride. Even devotional service can be an object of pride if we don't have the proper attitude. So, always checking one's attitude. As Prabhupada said, it says in the prayers of Lord Kapila Dev, that, or Queen Kunti, I can't remember which one it is, but he says that every day one should, at the end of the day, one should think, what did I do for Krishna? What did I do for Maya? This should be our meditation. We should always be analyzing our devotional service, our life, our activities, our mind, our intelligence. Always, is it focused on Krishna? How can I focus it more? So this is the way we can advance very nicely. See, Krishna gave you the answer while you were making the question. Any other question? Okay, so we'll stop here. Okay, so we have some prasadam here for everyone. Thank you all very much. All good to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.